how to do dopamine fast to stop addiction, gain more clarity, or have more time, how to break free from those chemical tentacles holding you on the ground. I'll share with you 3 different fasts, how to do them, and how to choose which one is the right fit for your situation. I'm also looking for volunteers to actually guide them through this process, but more on that later in the video. By the way, there are timestamps if you want to jump around, but I do recommend following along as it's a nice puzzle that fits together. Also, I did a separate video explaining how dopamine works, how we form habits in 2 stages, and how this is exploited by, for example, social media. And we also talked about the benefits and in general why you should do it. So watch that for more information, but I'll take out one quote from there. Remember that the entire point of a dopamine detox is to simplify your life and give you more clarity and more energy, time and desire to do what you really want to do in this life. Okay, so how should you do this fast? There are 3 versions of dopamine detox, a short one, a longer one, and then more targeted or one that's more about lifestyle change, which some might call Dopamine Fast 2.0. I did all of them and they have their time and place, which I'll tell you about later. In the short fast, you essentially want to eliminate as much out of your life as possible in a short burst. It's like a sprint that lasts 24 hours. So no music, sex, not even masturbation or art of any form. Ideally, you would not even create any art, as that can be a form of distraction and a way to raise your pleasure too. Then an obvious one, no social media, messaging apps or use of internet and electronic devices, as they actually give you quite a bit of stimulation. Then no fruits, sugar or food that gives you pleasure. So do eat that type of ice cream beforehand. Try to eat as bluntly as you can, for example, white rice with salt, or better yet, do a fast and stack some extra benefits from that. In this short version, you should not even have any social contact. Some people even take it to an extreme and they block light and noise too. That can have its own merit as well, as sensory deprivation is quite beneficial and can lead to interesting states. In any case, I bet you crave to know, what the hell should you do then? I'm happy to tell you that you should just stare into the abyss. Nah, but it's close to that. You should really get bored and sit with it. Best thing that you can do is to journal. Write down thoughts and emotions that come up, anything from ideas, projects you might want to work on, some inner observations and so on. Listen to what your body is telling you without any extra stimuli. Stimuli? Granted, with the short version, you still have a lot of external stimuli that's part of you and you gathered for past months and will influence your thinking. But at least you'll listen to yourself and don't try to drown out your quiet inner voice with other stuff, like taking out your phone instantly when you even feel a bit of boredom coming up. The longer fast is better for elimination of the outside influence on your thinking or emotional state. It can last anywhere from 3 to 30 seconds, days. But I found that the sweet spot is between 7 to 14. I did a 30-day one and it was more counterproductive as it had a tendency to bounce back. With this version, you try to eliminate most things that bring you instant pleasure. So elimination of social media, news and content consumption. Yep, that includes Netflix, Disney+, Hulu, Amazon Prime and mindless watching of anything purely for entertainment. And also podcasts, which was painful for me. After that, I would still eliminate fruit, sugars, and in general, most food that brings you pleasure or some dopamine rush. So for me, that's even dairy, as it's quite addictive, especially in the frozen form combined with carbs. Though there's a trick you want to implement with the longer fast. You want to replace what you are eliminating with some other habit or a thing that you can do. This way, you are actually reprogramming your brain and training it to crave other stimuli. So in the longer version, it's not about complete elimination of dopamine, that's impossible anyway. It's about reduction so you can get more motivation and energy. Then you take this energy and redirect it somewhere else. For example, learning a new language. So instead of waking up in the morning and checking your phone for new messages, you wake up and learn a few words for 10 minutes. This learning also releases a bit of dopamine, which makes you feel good and reinforces this learning loop. Let me reiterate that. This is the key. In this fast, it's okay to meet people, reply to messages or use technology. I would just reduce it. Make it less appealing by setting it up in a way that it doesn't pull you in. I'll share with you some tips and examples of what you can do in the next part. The third version is the Dopamine Fast 2.0, and I would call it a targeted, longer version fast that you incorporate into your lifestyle. It's a way to change your addictive habits long term. It is less prescriptive and makes you focus less on what you can and can't do, and tries to focus purely on that one habit that you want to get rid of, and then strengthening other good behaviors instead. I would say this is a proper, wholesome approach backed by years of clinical practice, mainly cognitive behavioral therapy. So here's what you'll do. And by the way, feel free to follow along, pause it, write it down. Heck, if you want some accountability, write it down in the comment section and post it. Pick a habit that you want to get rid of or limit. For example, an addictive behavior that interferes with your life or work performance. For example, binge watching Netflix or playing games late at night, which then causes you to be tired the next day. Or just something that you don't want to do as often as you are bothered how much you do it. For me, that might be watching YouTube. Once you picked your behavior, then identify your triggers for that behavior. Triggers can be things like location, time of day, other people, emotional state, or some sort of preceding action. For example, for me, if I feel tired and bored, which is my emotional state trigger, and I am on my computer, location trigger, so I open up a new tab and type in YouTube. Now we know our triggers, but they are triggers for a reason. Sheer willpower won't be enough, so we need to design our days in a way to eliminate them. And there are 3 ways to do that. 1. Figure out ways to get rid of the stimuli, limit it or just make it harder. For example, put your phone in a drawer or uninstall the social media apps from your phone. 2. And this is very important, replace the habit with an alternative one. Ideally, one where you don't have the stimuli. For example, swimming, as it's hard to have your phone while you are swimming. Number 3. Use peer pressure in a form of accountability. So again, comment below and make it public to what you are committing to. Or use tools to help you out. For example, tools that block social media, restrict access to your phone, and things like that. Scheduling is a big part in the success and is the biggest difference from this version and the other ones. You have both the fasting as well as the feasting, and feasting is where you go and do or binge on the behavior. It's similar to Tim Ferriss's low carb diet, and it's the reason why the diet is so successful. With that diet, you have 1 cheat day per week scheduled in. Speaking of diets, there's another similarity to a nutritional fast, that is scheduling in different intensities throughout the year. Here's an example. Every day you don't use your phone for 2 hours at night. Then once a week you don't use it for the whole day. Once a quarter you abstain for a whole weekend. And once a year you do a full-blown 7-day dopamine fast. Okay, so let me summarize and illustrate the whole process with a quick example using phone and social media addiction. So the behavior is checking your phone or social media to see if there's something new. The trigger is your phone or notifications, or being bored, tired, or distressed and being near a computer or device. The intervention is to use schedule as described before, and then creating barriers to using the phone or social media. I'll put few things that I sometimes do on the screen, but because this video is already getting too long, I'll do another one where I dive deeper into tips against phone addiction. And lastly, instead of checking your phone in the morning or evening, you'll be reading instead or spending time with your friends or family. Now you might be wondering when you should do which one or which one is better for you. We briefly touched on that, but let's explore it more deeply. The short fast is good for quickly resetting your mind, motivation and addictions, though mostly for a short period. However, it does help to bring awareness to it, which is the biggest first step. It can also help you out when you don't know what you should do, as boredom is proven to help with creative thinking and problem solving. It will force your brain to work on problems lurking around in your conscious and subconscious mind. The longer fast is great for realizing you don't need something or that you don't need it as much, and will automatically lead to moderation. For example, your usage of social media. So it's beneficial when you want to reduce some behavior that gives you pleasure and you do it more often than you would like to. And at the same time, you might not believe it or think that it's actually good for you. Alternatively, the longer restrictions are also great for starting something new, from learning a new skill, setting up a project, or even finding time for yourself and figuring out what you need. And because you are eliminating outside stimuli for longer periods, the things that your inner voice will tell you are more likely to be you. Eliminating outside stimuli can be also beneficial if you want to find your creative voice, or you want to, and I'm losing my voice, or you want to start creating more rather than consuming, which is a trap I can often fall into. I am addicted to new information and, of course, stimuli. And the targeted fast is great for specifically cutting out or reducing a specific habit. It's like surgery. It's also great to use for things that you want to do, but you also want to make sure you don't overdo it and fall victim to the chemical soup that is your body. Let's say you don't want to fit in and be cool by binging shows on Netflix, but at the same time you actually enjoy watching shows, be it for inspiration, relaxation, or whatever. So the targeted fast is great to reduce your current behavior and then keep it at check or in balance. Which leads me to my last point, which is I'm looking for volunteers who would want to give this a try. We will discuss what you want to do and then design the perfect experiment for you. Then you'd share back your experience, results, how you felt, what you liked, what you didn't like, what didn't work. And then I would create a video with results of different real people. Wait, he's not real? Later on, I'll also share my experiences. If it's the same video or different one, I don't know yet. Anyway, if you're interested, send me a message, email, PM on Instagram, and let's make it happen. There are actually only 2 spots left, as I already have 2 volunteers from the last video. Thank you for watching, and if you find this useful, hit that like button, as that way the algorithm can give dopamine to other people who might find this useful, and of course, to me. Plus, hit that red button for more videos that will help you live your peak human life. And if you made it this far, thank you, and I love you.